Good Sunday evening, high school sports fans. Joe Gillaway with Lingelstown Gazette Sports live from the Orchard Street studio. And this is our High School Hoops weekly recap show. I'll be joined momentarily by our panel of experts, along with our special opening guest, as soon as we're done thanking those responsible for bringing you tonight's show, our Lingelstown Gazette Sports Platinum sponsors. And they are Rickabah's Electric, Payor Apparel, American Legion Post 272, Sam Hartley Decking, Modern Imprint, Hoffman Ford, Ted's Bar and Grill, The Tire Mart, Freedom Financial Wealth Management, Capital Region Insurance Agency, Tonino's Pizza, Team PA, AAU Basketball, Underdog Sports Bar and Grill, and Crystal Bob at Howard Hanna Real Estate. Thanks once again to these great local businesses for their continued support of Lingelstown Gazette Sports and our area's student athletes. Upcoming on our podcast, this is our midweek podcast, which we call Gazette Sports Chat. Tomorrow night we have, so this is special. This is different, and it's kind of outside the box, and I'm certain everybody's going to like this. We have some local photographers and videographers that, if you're watching right now, you've seen or heard of some of these guys for sure. We have Sean Simmers from Penn Live. He's one of their top still photographers. Neil Rinaldi and David Chase, they're independent photographers. Michael Starling, big star from Raw Sports, will be joining us. And Alfonso Kelly from Fonz Content. Those two are videographers, Starling and Alfonso Kelly, and two of the best in the business. They've done some really important stuff that a lot of us have watched before. And these photographers are top-notch, too. So that's going to be tomorrow night at 7, and I'm really excited for that. They're all friends of mine. Well, actually, I've never met Alfonso Kelly. This is going to be my first time meeting him, but I know the rest of them, and they're all great guys, too. So Tuesday, the 18th, we're going to do things a little bit differently. We're going to do our Unified Bocce show, and it's going to be a 3:30 start. Logistically, it makes a lot more sense to have the coaches and the student athletes all together right after school. So, of course, if you can't make that or watch that at 3:30 when we're doing it live, you can watch it later that day or the next day or whenever. It'll be stored for you. And then, of course, this Hoops Recap show we'll be doing every Sunday until the rest of the season, which is, I think, three more weeks. And we may or may not do a fourth show if we can get some state championship coaches or players or both after the fact, after they have a chance to exhale and to celebrate a little bit. And if they want to come in and join us for one more week, one more Sunday night at 6, we'll have them as well. So let's get to the show now. Tonight's opening guest is in his second season at the helm of the Susquehanna Township boys basketball program and has already led this year's team to a place the program has not seen in 5 years, the round of 16 of the PIAA State Championship Tournament. We'll learn what brought about this turnaround, the excitement at Susquehanna Township High School as the result, and the team's prospect of moving forward to the state's Class 4A Elite 8. It's our pleasure to welcome Susquehanna Township head coach Avery Cloud to the Hoops Recap Show. Coach Cloud, welcome and thank you very much.
And thank you for inviting me.
Certainly. This is a rain check, actually. Remember, we asked you about a month and a half ago, and you were going to come on. I think you had to reschedule a game for a Sunday because of some of that weather we had there. So, yeah, we're excited to have you for sure. We didn't forget that we wanted to bring you on, and what a perfect Sunday night for it. You just won a big game in the opening round of states, and you're moving on. So, I'm just going to get things started here, and then we'll kind of let everybody ask you some questions and see. What we're doing is letting the viewers learn a little bit more about Coach Cloud, of course. So, anyway, spring of 2023, I think it was maybe May-ish, something like that. You got the job, so you had a little bit of time, not a lot. You know, you'd like to have a full year, but that usually doesn't happen. But you had enough time to kind of get your feet wet, figure out what you had, and start creating a culture. What did you step into in May of 2023?
May 2023.
When you took over.
A lot of talent. Susquehanna, definitely, there was a lot of talent on the team, but there was a lot of change. And there was a lack of consistency pretty much. I was the third coach over a 3-year period. So it was definitely a lot of change. And I think it took a while for players to develop trust, not only in the coach, but just trusting that someone would be around.
That's a great point. Yeah, because I mean, they only knew what they knew or what they had seen over the last couple years, and I think with boys and men, younger men and older men, or however you want to put it, they get to really rely on having that kind of that closeness and that trust. And when it's broken or it's interrupted, it can be tough for sure. So let's do this. Let's pass things. I got a couple more questions, but we want to talk about what's going on right now today with you and your team. So, John Velios, what do you have for Coach Cloud?
Coach, welcome to the show, and congratulations on the season you've had so far this year. I'm a Susquehanna graduate in 1992, and I've always been rooting for Susquehanna. And to see the success that you've had this year, it's just made me smile because, like Joe had alluded to, it was a rough few years, and the turnover that, like you spoke about, the coaching turnover, that certainly didn't help the situation at all. And now that you've had this type of year, if you're looking back to like when you first took over to this year, what do you think was the biggest thing that led to the year you've had this year up to this point?
I would start with.
Sorry.
Okay, first I would definitely say I'm happy to be here as well, and I would start with the leadership, the player leadership, and that leadership allowed the players to, one, hold each other accountable, and I believe it just really allowed the players to not only, they just bought into the program. They bought into what was being done. In the beginning, it was almost like the guys were talented and they really did a lot of things that they wanted to do. And right. I would really say this year right here, it's like the players just bought in.
So you had the talent there. They just seemed to buy into your system and start leading the team as they should have been, as you knew that they could, right?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Thanks, Coach.
Okay, how about the voice of Delco, Dave Berman?
Yeah, Coach, you got a real nice, to me, still a younger squad. And let's run down your leading scorer, 14.8 points a game, senior Alfonso Burnett, whose dad helped the Cougars of Harrisburg win a state title in 2002 against Newcastle.
Was on our show about a month and a half ago. Awesome young man. Go ahead, Dave.
Coach, let's talk about Alfonso.
Man, when you talk about leadership, that's really like, man, a great captain for the team. Like a lot that he does, not only on the floor, but at practice, during group chats. It's a lot of off the floor leadership, and he holds everyone accountable. And also on the floor, this is like a real live like coach on the floor. He understands what we want to do as a staff and help gets our guys in position to create the best opportunities for everyone. So,
a junior, I feel like I'm a public address announcer here.
You sound like one.
5'10" junior, 13.8 points a game, Makai Slappy.
Hey, Makai Slappy is a great shooter. He's definitely one of the top shooters that I ever coached in my life, in my coaching career. So he's a great shooter, a great scorer. He's a great individual. He's growing as an all-around player. Great scorer off the ball. I would really say an off the ball guard, but could play the combo like the 1 and 2. And he broke the Hannah's record last year and then came back and broke the Susquehanna Township 3-point record this year. He's very determined, have a very high basketball IQ. I believe he will do great things in the future as well.
13 points a game, tremendous job. Saw him, had a chance to meet him last summer at our Big 60 showcase at the Spokane Complex. Jakai Sloan Marks, 9th grader, incredible.
Yeah, Jakai Marks, he's going to be a special kid, and I believe that everyone's going to remember that name right there. He has a ton of potential. He's a hard worker. He has a good attitude. He wants to do well. He believes in himself, and he wants to compete. And that's that's like a lot that you could say. And he just have a nice all-around game. All-around game. He's not like, just because he's tall, he's not limited in any aspects of his game.
And let's continue on here real quick, unless you guys want to butt in a little bit, guys.
Let me bring Coach Ty Savercool
There you
in
go.
here. Let's do a coach to coach here.
So I guess my question, it's always a coach question.
Always good questions, by the way.
I mean, we've talked about the past couple of years of lack of stability, and you've definitely brought the stability back to the program and gotten it back to a point where you're in district playoffs, qualifying for state playoffs, winning state playoffs. I mean, 10, 15 years ago, Hannah was playing in state finals. That program has talent every year. So what is your vision now moving forward that you've brought that stability back? What's your vision to continue the growth?
I would like to create this culture where right now is normal. Whereas though, like you expect to play until March. Right now, I feel like a lot of our guys are like nursing injuries, and it's just an environment that they never really been in before. And that was a shock, especially in the first 2 playoff games, I believe. But I believe right now that the younger guys getting to experience this will help propel us in the future, hopefully. But I would really like this to be the norm. I need them just to understand that you're going to get out of whatever you're going to put in, that's what you're going to get out of it. And if you believe that, if you believe that you're capable and you work on it, like this can be normal. And we can go to like, I would like to win a state title. I would like to win a lot. Not for the accolades, but just to show the kids, like really, like I really say all the time, like, listen, this is what it's going to take. This is where hard work can get you. So,
yeah, I think in the communities of central Pennsylvania, Susquehanna Township is definitely one community that has an expectation that they should be successful in basketball every single year. And there's not many communities in central PA that has that. I mean, that's a heavy weight on your shoulders because that is that's a high standard to have to meet every year. You know, my right-hand man at Cedar Cliff was John Ruby, who helped out Vince Rogers for years and years at Hannah. And, you know, they had some great teams. And the expectations that came along with that every year are just incredible. But it's kind of also fun as a coach because you get to kind of have that expectation of success every year. You can get kids excited about it and believing in themselves. So that's the cool part.
Okay, Coach. There's a lot of energy, I'm sure, within the school's walls right now about basketball, right? The girls' basketball team had a nice season, and you guys have obviously gone a little bit further. But talk about what, you know, the shot of adrenaline or the excitement that having a winning basketball team does for the school and the students and the teachers.
I think that it just really provides that opportunity for everyone to come together and rally behind something. And I think that's always good for the school. Like that's just a great thing for everyone to come together for something positive.
Yeah, and it's not it takes a little bit of work to get to that point. I mean, you look at a school like maybe a Cumberland Valley, they're always winning something, right? I mean,
yes.
Whether it's boys or girls, or I don't care if it's they probably have water polo over there. I'm just trying to make a point. That's what you're used to, like at a Cumberland Valley, you know. But most schools aren't like that, and you really have to have that one team. Your football team, you know, did some different things this year in terms of winning and gathering some momentum. But I love to see people have a reason to show up in the morning other than just their classwork and stuff. They want to see the players. They want to congratulate them, and they look forward to going that night and supporting them in your gym or an opposing gym. John?
There's Mike. Huh?
John, you're muted.
Yep.
Hey, sorry about that. Yeah, Coach, I just wanted to, learn a little bit more about you. Maybe like some of our audience members don't know you as well. Like, what's your background? Did you play high school ball locally, college ball locally, and how did you get into coaching?
Yeah, I'm from. I graduated from Harrisburg High. I played basketball. I played football. I stopped playing basketball early. I decided to focus on football. I graduated from Harrisburg. I attended Westchester. I experienced the injury and I stopped playing sports altogether. But I decided to learn about the body, so I focused on kinesiology. Right now,
Okay.
I'm currently a health and phys ed teacher, and I've been working in public city schools for like over 10 years. I would say actually like over 20 years, close to 20 years. But I started off I started off coaching youth sports, really at the Y, at the Boys Club, Des Mangus, Coach Cam, and then moved on to coaching at the high school. About 11 years ago, I started with Coach Smallwood, and I coached with the Cougars for about 8 years, developed the Harrisburg Baby Cougars program. If you ever were familiar with that, I was the founder of the Harrisburg Baby Cougars basketball program. I won a national championship with AAU with that, with the USBA Nationals in 2019. Was around for several district championships with the Cougars. And then came to the Hannah as an assistant varsity coach under Coach Malcolm Wirtz. And the following year became the head coach. And I've been here for the last 2 years.
That's
Thanks,
great.
Coach.
Yeah, appreciate that question, John, and the answer, Coach Cloud. Dave Berman?
All right, Coach. Tell me what you know about your next opponent from Chester County, Shanahan, Downingtown. Great program, awesome coach, John Doherty, who's the pride of Delco, and Sean Griffin, number 11, 6'8". That'll be a great learning experience for Jakai, your 6'6" guy, to go up against him. And they have a lot of weapons and they can shoot. They just came off, and you probably got the video. They beat Philadelphia Catholic League powerhouse Archbishop Carroll.
Yeah, man, listen, on film, it's always difficult when you're watching a team when you don't have a common opponent. So I would like to first say that, because that can always be tricky. But number 11, he definitely stood out. Number 3 stood out. Number 11 stood out. Number 11, 3, and number 0 stood out to me. And they stood out to me as definitely having a lot of shooters, man. I seen them play man-to-man. I seen them play zone against Coatesville. But for the most part, they were a man-to-man team. But
Right.
I could.
Schedule. They shot the other night 30 out of 58 against that long Archbishop Carroll team with several Division I recruits. And just incredible. 30 out of 58, 51% from the field against that team. And Sean Griffin, David Mondry, Rylander, Ryan Ambrose, the guard, scrappy guard, Husky kid, Danny Keenan, he's a beast, Anthony Aquila. So, yeah, I know all these guys. I know a bunch of your guys, too. So it should be a fun match at a great gym, Hempfield.
We're going to have to hook you guys up after the show, Dave. Maybe you could help Coach Cloud out a little bit with some things he might not already have in his arsenal. Okay, how about Coach Ty Savercool? You want to ask one more question, kind of take us out with this one?
So you talked about your baby Cougars experience, and I know just playing against Hannah twice a year when I was at Cedar Cliff that the youth program kind of fizzled a bit over a period of time at Hannah. Have you put any time into kind of rebuilding the youth program at Hannah?
Yeah, it's funny. I was just talking to one of the directors of the youth program, and while we were talking, I don't really know if he kind of knew my intention, but I was thinking that I would like to see youth sports definitely revitalized. Like, that's where it starts, the youth. Your feeder program is everything. So I plan on being around, and I believe that would be a crucial piece to our success.
Now, I'm going to ask you one more. I'm going to mention one more thing, see if I can get a response out of you on this one. Coach Jason Bear, he's watching, okay?
For sure.
I call him. He's a fan of Lingelstown Gazette Sports. I believe so. I see him a lot watching our stuff. And Coach Bear, thank you. I really appreciate your support. Tell us a little bit about your relationship with Coach Bear and his impact on the players and your program.
Me and Coach Jason Bear, first of all, this is family. Like, this is like a brother. But we cousins. We grew up next door to each other, and he's like a basketball junkie. You ask him any fact about any basketball athlete, like, he pretty much gonna know the numbers. But going back, we coach at the Cougars together. We coach with the Harrisburg Baby Cougars together. And moving on here, this was like one of the ideas I remember, like applying for Harrisburg. He was like, man, you should think about Susquehanna. You should think about Susquehanna. And it's like coming back. It's like fortunate how everything happened. But Jason Berry does so much like for the program. It's almost like we divide our responsibilities so like naturally and organically, just being family. And I think that having someone like himself to work with, it just makes everything that I do so much easier. Everything that he's doing so much easier because we already been coaching together for so long. So as far as like everything you see on social media, everything you see about the Hannah program, just all the marketing, it's like a lot of it, like he's spearheading everything.
I see it happening. Yeah. Okay. Well, Coach Cloud, go ahead, Dave.
Is Jason related to West Bear?
No, well, you know what? It might be some relation down the line, but as far as we know, it's not like a direct relation.
There's Jeff Morrow, Avery, Jay Bear, and the whole crew have been fantastic. That's what Jeff Morrow just said. So we got you all together here. We got Coach Avery Cloud, Coach Jason Bear, and Jeff Morrow all together in the kind of the same room here, the same online room, basically. So, Coach Cloud, thank you so much.
Yeah, Joe, real quick, I wanted to mention too, Coach Cloud, you were also like pretty much a unanimous pick for the Linglestown Gazette Sports as the coach of the year in your division. So thanks, I wanted to mention that, like, we respect the heck out of you.
I don't know if it was almost unanimous. I think it might have been unanimous.
I wasn't sure, so I wanted to say that.
We had about a 5 or 6 person panel about 3 weeks ago, Coach, and we picked all-star teams and newcomer of the year and first and second team player of the year, and you got our Capital Division Coach of the Year. So you earned it, and we're glad to have you on.
Hey, listen, and I wanted to say, I'm sorry, we got to talking and just noticing that I was online and everything. I'm taking everything slow, but I truly appreciate that, man. I caught the tail end of it, so it's like I had to go back and like really listen to everything. But I definitely appreciate being recognized and just thanks, man. I really appreciate what y'all doing for the community and the kids as well.
You earned it. You earned it.
Everything.
Yep. Thank you so much.
All
right. We're going to let you fly. Do some, get some preparation done for Shanahan. That'll be Tuesday, right?
Yeah, I'll be calling Dave, man.
Okay. If you need his contact information, I have it for you.
All right. No
Coach,
problem.
real quick, I found an article from 2012 I got to share. A great article on Coach Bear and you guys together.
Okay.
I'll make sure you guys have each other's numbers.
All right.
Okay. Thank you, Coach.
Right.
Thanks, Coach.
Have a great evening. Take care. All right. Susquehanna Township's second-year head coach, Avery Cloud. And that was a great interview, and we're so glad that we had a chance to finally get him in here. So anyway, what we're going to do now, we have one round in the books, the opening round of 32. That's the PIAA tournament, of course. So we'll talk about, you can't cover all these games, of course, but just some of, let's call them games of interest or some of the more local games. And we'll start with some housekeeping stuff, though. How about if we do that? So if you're watching at home and you want to hear about your team winning or your team losing or who they play next, stick with us a little bit. I want to talk about, well, I'll tell you what, kind of necessary to talk about this situation in Meadville, okay? Only because it's something that happens way too often now. I'm not saying it never happened when we were all younger, but it's fans getting involved to a greater degree than they should be. They're angry, they're fighting, they're arguing with officials, they're arguing with each other, they're yelling at coaches, and it got very ugly. What was it, 2 nights ago? Last night, 2 nights ago?
2 nights.
Yeah, Uniontown was visiting Meadville, and it was a 5A matchup for the right to move on to play Hershey, who probably hadn't won by that time, but Hershey did end up winning. And Uniontown was the 5 seed out of District 7. the Whippeal. For those at home that don't know, that's kind of like the greater Pittsburgh area outside of the city. And Meadville was the number 1 seed out of District 10, which is northeast or northwest Erie area. With 3 minutes and 12 seconds remaining in the game, 63-55 Meadville was the score. Basically what happened was there was a foul called on, just a regular old foul. Kid got called for a foul. A Uniontown player then takes the ball and dunks it just for no reason, just a bad decision. You know, when the whistle blows, you give the ball back to the official or lay it down or whatever. So he dunks the ball. He's given a technical that fouls him out. Okay, that was his 5th foul. When you get a technical, whether it's your first or your second, it's also a personal foul, right, Coach Sabercool?
Yep.
That's the way. Yeah. So he gets fouled out. There may or may not have already been tension in the gym. There probably was, but I'm sure this added to the tension. Now it's a relatively close game, still within reach, and Uniontown loses one of its players. So then, kind of a fracas started in the stands. Fans are going after each other. A couple fans, in particular, were kind of really going after some other fans, and it got violent. It was like felonious. I mean, there was assault. There was assaults going on in the stands. I watched a Uniontown player chase down a fan. I mean, the fan was running across the floor. We're not saying names or numbers here, okay?
Okay, but apparently that kid, and I was watching the film, the kid that I know he was talking a lot of trash to the kid that ran after him.
Okay, well, that's part of you got to learn how to have trash talked to you, though. I mean, I'm Dave. I'm not here to argue with anybody. What I'm here to say is that what happened, let's just kind of bring this to a lot of players from both teams left the bench. Some of them went into the stands to start fighting with the fans, it looked like. Some of them started fighting with one another. And as it turns out, the PIAA has to make a decision. They said they're going to make the decision on Monday or inform everybody on Monday whether or not Meadville is going to be able to move on and play Hershey. According to the letter of the law, then I'm going to turn it over to you guys, just kind of see how you feel about this. Under PIAA rules, this is kind of I'm not going to read you the actual rule, but this is how the rules loosely written. So it's easier for us all to understand. A basketball player leaving the bench during an altercation is assessed a flagrant technical foul, resulting in disqualification from the game and an automatic 1-game suspension. Here's a more detailed explanation. Flagrant technical foul, a player leaves the bench to join a fight or an other altercation. So they're saying if it's not just like an all-out fist fight, you can't leave the bench and join any kind of altercation, will be assessed a flagrant technical foul. That's the first thing. The technical foul results in the player being ejected from the game. That's the second thing. The ejection also carries an automatic 1-game suspension under PIAA rules. So, and Dave, I'm really not trying to debate this with you. What I'm saying is there's no other reason for those players to leave the bench unless they are running to the locker room, I would say. Right, Coach Sabercool? I mean, you're allowed – I would say you're allowed to flee if you're trying to defend yourself, right? But you're a coach. And did you have those conversations with your players? Hey, guys, if ever anything gets really crazy and hot and heated, you have to keep your cool?
Yeah, I mean, you can have those conversations, but at the end of the day, emotions are emotions in the moment. And
Absolutely.
Some things just unravel quick. I mean, I saw 2 different angles of the video. I mean, it's tough because my personal opinion is, I mean, obviously we know the fight started in the crowd, whether there was chirping to players on the floor, whatever, but the actual altercation started in the crowd and kind of spilled over in some facet everywhere. I tend to think there's probably some leniency and flexibility on the interpretation of leaving the bench area because of how close in proximity everything was taking place to that bench.
Absolutely.
So, I don't know how many players were on the bench. 10. Let's just use 10. If 2 decided to join in the craziness and throw punches, well, obviously that meets letter of the law clearly. If 3 or 4 move to a different part of the gym just to kind of get away from it.
Mhm.
You're not, even if you left the bench area, you're not engaging yourself in that. You're actually getting out of it.
Agreed.
So, in my personal opinion, just from a scan of it, there were a lot of players that were doing that for Meadville just because there was chaos in about a 50-foot radius that included the bench area. So if you sat in your chair during the entire time or just stood in the bench area, you were probably going to be involved in some form or fashion because of how the spillover was taking place. So
Right.
I'm more of the belief of don't punish the kids for something that started between adults. Only punish the kids that decided to join in that level of interaction.
I totally agree. I mean, John, what do you think? I mean, you heard what Coach Sabercole
situations-
just said.
In most situations like this, what they try to do is clear the gym and finish the game. In this situation, they felt that they couldn't do that. They couldn't continue the game to play the last 3 minutes plus, right? So
Yeah.
how do you decide where's the rules written in? I like to see the rules like, in a baseball game, you got to go 5 innings, complete innings to make it official. Is there a rule that says anything about time being left and who is declared the victor?
Exactly.
That's. I would
Is there a
think,
rule?
Ty, do you know? I mean, it seems to me like the officials probably have the latitude or the power to end the game if they feel like they have to. It's not the first time we've seen that. It's usually there's 12 seconds or 45 seconds and you're up by 20. It's typically not a state championship playoff game that basically with 3:12 left, it's still within reach. You're only down 8.
Yeah, I think in most situations they aren't playoff games, but John, you talked about 5 innings. In like soccer, there's the lightning rule. If you've got a lead in the second half of a game and lightning comes in and it never goes away, that team that's up at that moment, at that delay in the game, can be considered the victor. Whether or not it's spelled out differently because it is playoffs, I don't know. It's a tough situation for sure for PWA. A little bit of maybe unprecedented waters.
Yeah, that's
So there's no chance of bringing the teams back and finishing the game, right? That's not going to happen.
I think at the time, probably not.
Right.
So they're going to have to either declare Meadville the winner and they move on and have to deal with whatever suspensions they get, or they declare both of them, forfeit, and Hershey just moves on to the final 8.
It should be one of those two. I can't see that there's a third option. And like Coach Sabercole said, let's hope it's just a couple kids for outside of the ones that kind of moved away from the bench just because they felt like they needed to because there was a lot of crazy stuff going on. Let's hope if there were any kids that actually got involved in the is it a fracas that there was only a couple and that they still have enough left to play the game if the PIAA wants to give them that opportunity. Dave Berman, I know you're familiar with this. I watched
Studied the whole thing over and over, different views. It was ruined by that fan, the parent. I know it's the parent of one of the kids, and he looked like Notorious B.I.G. He ran down and he went ballistic on anybody in that corner that apparently he thought was aggravating or talking crap with his son, the star point guard. So, and also a football recruit. So that ruined everything. And good luck with the PIAA figuring that out.
all great points. You guys all make great points, and I agree with everything you guys said. And it kind of looked to me like the guy that you're talking about, Dave. It was kind of looking like criminal. I mean, that's a criminal offense. He just started arrested. Did he get arrested? Okay, yeah, he was like attacking people. He was a big dude, just kind of wailing on people.
I haven't seen any stories about it, but I heard from a source that apparently this gentleman has a previous record.
Okay, so let's talk basketball now. How about that? Actual basketball. That's what's going on, though. So I figured we'd talk about the malice at Meadville. Okay, so let's start with 6A. And we had a couple local teams.
A couple local teams that play teams down here. Isn't that cool?
Yeah. We had 2 Commonwealth teams win, 1 lost. Cumberland Valley, I listened to the broadcast. Eric Thomas was doing the broadcast for, I forget who it was. It was audio only. Is that what you were listening to it on, Ty?
I was following on Twitter.
Okay.
I was out and about, so I was just following on Twitter.
Let me
He was
tell
at
you what-
Newcastle, right, Joe?
Yeah, yeah. Let me tell you how Cumberland Valley went about beating Newcastle. Newcastle was the 2 seed out of District 7. Cumberland Valley, the 7 seed, by the way. One of the better 7 seeds you'll ever see anywhere. But Cumberland Valley was 5 for 20 in the first half shooting from the field. 5 for 20, 0 for 10 in the second quarter. All right. They did score 5 points in the second quarter, all on free throws, but then went 13 of 22 in the second half from the field. So I know that the coach, Vespignani, is not out there shooting the ball and passing the ball, rebounding the ball. But something happened at halftime, that and it's not a shock, right, Ty, that Coach Vespi kind of rallied his troops at halftime.
Yeah, long bus ride, probably, had sea legs, bus legs, in the first half. And once they found their rhythm, momentum builds and they took advantage of it.
Yeah, and when that team starts making shots, they're hard to beat because they have like 3 shot makers, 3 legitimate, perimeter shooters, and that's what they started to do. So hats off to Cumberland Valley. We're happy for them. Coach Dave Vespignani and his guys. Nolan Bazolka had another big game, 21 and 14. And I should mention 14 is the rebounds because he's a great assist guy too. He brings the ball up a lot, but he had 21 points and 14 rebounds. So Bazolka once again getting it done for Cumberland Valley. They kind of had a couple hiccups, bumps in the road there. They lost to Central Dauphin in the district championship tournament, and then lost the consolation game to Mechanicsburg. And anybody that's played sports or been around sports or coached sports, that if you can get a new fresh breath of air and keep your attitude and your wits about you, you can extend the season, and that's what Cumberland Valley has done. So they will play at Geigel Complex, which is at Reading High School, and they're going to be playing Coatesville
Rematch.
this Wednesday at
7:30.
7:30. Yeah, the first game, which we'll get to, is at 6 o'clock. So Chambersburg beat Whitehall, the 4 seed out of District 11. That's the second Mid-Penn Commonwealth Division team to move on. So congrats to Coach Sean Schreffler and his Trojans. And then Central Dauphin, they're the team that I alluded to that lost. They lost to, I thought, a pretty good Springford team. Springford has after this year, it'll be a 3-time All-State player. Nguyen.
Jacob, yep.
Jacob Nguyen. I think he had 26.
I had 28.
28, okay. So anyway, but it was up there, and he played really well. And Central Dauphin, I was talking to John earlier today, they've played so well, like a handful of times this year. You weren't going to beat them unless you were a really good team that was playing really well. And then they played the other night. They just couldn't get the ball in the basket. Right, Ty? Did you watch that at all?
The Springford game?
Yeah.
I did not watch it, but I talked to some people that were there afterwards. They kind of gave me a recap, and I was following on Twitter as well.
They rely on kind of, I don't want to call it bully ball because they're not bullies at all, but they're very they play downhill a lot, Central Dauphin, and they're very physical and very athletic. And if that's not working, they don't have the advantage that they're looking for. Do you guys follow what I'm saying there? That's
game against Coatesville, and they beat They took Coatesville to overtime in the District 1. It was a quarterfinal game. It's amazing what they've done without their stud football player who's going.
Yeah, broke his leg.
Broke his leg, and then one of the starting shooting guards, Jack Kennedy, he's out. Was it at hypocritical PIAA transfer rules, and they still pulled through.
Yeah, because they still have players. That's a great sports school. Springford is a phenomenal, right, Dave? They're like a Cumberland Valley or like a North Penn or a
softball.
Yeah, they're really good at pretty much everything. So, very good season though for Coach Wayne Fletcher and his guys. They won a lot of games. They got to go to Giant Center, and they lost to Central York in the district championship game, but big win over Cumberland Valley. Only 2 losses in the Commonwealth. So, only one team, or 6, I guess we could say, wins every game, or wins their last game, and they're not going to be one of them for sure. Anybody else want to say anything about any 6A games that I didn't cover? I mean, there's just too many games that cover everything.
Did you just mention the 6A Commonwealth?
What's that?
There's other
Yeah.
6A teams.
Yeah, there's a bunch of other ones. That's what I'm saying. If we do, but if anybody, Dave, you're coming in for Delaware County. What down there is anything big? You're more of a 5A down there, right?
Well, 6A, Lower Merion played as good as they could and gave Roman a heck of a game. Down by 20 rally, lost by 11, but still great job, Greg Downer. Again, 6 straight years he has been knocked out of the straight PIAA state tournament by the Philadelphia Catholic League. Okay. So a great job Downer this year with basically 5 guys and nobody taller than 6'2". Garnet Valley played their butts off from Delaware County, lost to Father Judge, gave them all they could handle. Judge advances. Great job, Mike Brown. And then, of course, Imhotep survives. Central Bucks East gave them a heck of a game, and Imhotep squeaked. Won by 16, but it was a close game most of the way to the end.
Right.
And great job right there. 5A, it's just going to be nuts. Anybody can beat anybody. And, I was ready to talk some girls basketball because you have a lot of teams there. But right now, basketball, Joe, it's going to be some unbelievable games coming up.
Yeah, this is kind of when the rubber starts to meet the road. I mean, not that there wasn't good games in the first round, but when you have 32 teams, you could argue that, well.
And Mechanicsburg played a tremendous game against on Champ Conestoga.
Right.
House. It was insane. That game was televised live, and it's on YouTube on the Mechanicsburg Network. And just Conestoga found a way to get it done like they've been doing all year.
We might have we have a state championship caliber game coming up this Wednesday, for sure, and that's Central York against Roman Catholic.
6 o'clock at the Geigel. What are the biggest doubleheaders in years?
Yeah, that's a freaking great doubleheader. So, and I say that because that's with respect to the rest of the. What's that?
I was going to mention Central York as coming out of District 3. Who did they beat to get to this next game, Joe?
Phoenixville, the 10 seed out of District 1.
And that's a good program. They beat them by 30 points.
32, yeah. So, we probably, at least my opinion, you got Central York, Roman Catholic, Imhotep, and Father Judge, Dave. Oh, Upper St. Clair. There's 5 teams that probably, 5 out of the remaining 16 probably have a legitimate chance of going all the way. And
they've got Hazleton in there. Good to see them back.
Hazleton, they entered the tournament at 12-12. But yeah, you're right though. When we were growing up, Hazleton and Williamsport, and some of these teams that just barely exist anymore, at least at the statewide level, they were all kind of like the teams to beat back then. So,
PA for the Coatesville game, they hosted the Canaries from Allentown, 2-20 last year, but came in 16-10 Saturday, and Coatesville just too good for Allentown, but still a great year for the Canaries. So Coatesville takes on Cumberland Valley, rematch from last year. And it's going to be, you talk about physicality. Coatesville they're playing their big football guy in the middle now, 6 foot. Max Hiller, the Division I football recruit, and he's about 300 pounds, but he's very athletic, only a sophomore. You'll hear, I mean, the freshman, his brother's a freshman, 6'5". He could be a quarterback. He's an unbelievable arm. Coatesville, 6'7", scrappy guards.
Wow.
I think both games will go overtime on Wednesday.
Oh, wow. Now there's a prediction for you. I like that. So let's go to 5A. District 3 had 3 teams get past the first round. York Suburban over Roxborough, who was the 2 seed out of District 12. And they move on to play Upper Moreland. Hershey, congratulations to Coach Paul Blackburn and his Trojans. They beat Penn Trafford by 9. Penn Trafford was the 8th seed out of District 7. And then West York over Mars by 2. And, Mars is usually a pretty good, they're a strong program. So that's a good win by West York. West York will play Peters Township, and Hershey will be to be determined. That's the game that we were just talking about with the altercation. So I like Hershey's chances. I really do. At least, well, I think doesn't matter if they play Meadville or not. I like their chances to beat Meadville and to move on past that. If they can play like they did in the district champion, do you think that was Ty Savercool? Do you think that was kind of like good postseason basketball they were playing, the way they looked against Exeter? I mean, I know things can change. That just, to me, it looked like good postseason basketball.
Yeah, I mean, especially when you're playing at the Giant Center, they got to the rim. They didn't live and die by the 3. Where I thought like Exeter died by the 3, but Hershey made high percentage shots and took high percentage shots, and that got them into a flow, and they were just unbelievably good on both sides of the ball.
I thought so too. So let's focus just a little bit on.
I check. A coach is checking in. Billy Cassidy, Bonner, Prendy, 5A. They very shorthanded with two other 6'7" guys out because of the transfer thing. But they went up and beat Bangor by 12, and they've got to play Upper Dublin next.
That's easy. That's not easy.
They're the favorite right now to win the state championship in 5A. They beat Octorara, who's a hell of a team, by 30 points the other night in the first round.
So we have Bill Bostic chiming in. Does everybody know who Bill Bostic is?
You're the original.
He's the pioneer of Linglestown Gazette. And then once we got Linglestown Gazette Sports going, it was kind of basically Bill and myself, and John helped out, and Tom Gingrich. But he wants to mention about the CD game, the Central Dauphin game. Springford did a great job of shutting down Fletcher and Easter. That's Wayne Fletcher II and Jelani Easter. Both weren't able to get to the bucket, and I did notice that. And they're just not, to me, I don't want to go back and rehash all this because we already talked about it, but we know that Central Dauphin kind of struggles from the perimeter. They rely on going to the basket, scoring down the paint, and Springford cut them off and cut them down and shut them down. So great, Bill. Thank you for chiming in. That's a great point and accurate for sure. 4A, Susquehanna Township got by Danville, who was the 1 seed out of District 4 by a point. I think they were leading the whole game. They kind of held them off. That's my understanding. And Eastern York over Mount Carmel. So Eastern York will play Devon Prep, who beat McDevitt, and Susquehanna Township will play Bishop Shanahan. And the winner of those 2 games will play one another. That's at the very kind of top corner of the bracket. And then we have our friend Snip Esterly, Coach Esterly at Berks Catholic, kind of took it to Simon Gratz. Gratz was the 5 seed out of District 12. They beat him 61-36, and Berks Catholic will move on to play Scranton Prep. There's still too many teams and games left to really.
And there's too many classes, and you see some of the scores in the show, especially with the Philadelphia. Some of those smaller Philadelphia Public League teams on the girls' side.
So here's other than the teams we mentioned, the only remaining mid-Penn team we haven't talked about is Trinity in 3A. They beat Penn Cambria 80-52. I get the feeling it wasn't that close. I mean, even though 80-52 is, 28? I think it was over like within minutes of the opening tip. So Trinity will move on to play Shady Side, who's the 5 seed out of District 7. Shady Side beat North Star. Isn't that a Cadillac engine, North Star? Shady Side beat them 55-44. So
I was out there. I covered all the not the sound. Now I lost my train of thought.
That's dangerous.
Getting old. Dementia.
Anybody have anything?
I was going to say, a buddy of mine, Jack Kappenstein, Larry Kappenstein's brother. He's a public address announcer down here, Jack Kapp.
Larry's a legendary game official.
Yep, Larry out there. So anyway, he announced the West Catholic game. He says he can't see anybody. He hasn't seen Trinity yet. Anybody in AAA that can beat West Catholic.
Okay,
And
John.
you mentioned that before, Joe. I mean,
Yeah.
that seems to be the one team that could be in the way of Trinity winning a state championship.
I think it's slim pickings in 3A of who can
Right.
beat Trinity.
Right.
But Dave, I'm trusting you on the and Trinity would not have to meet West Catholic if they were to both keep winning until the championship game.
Well, that would be a great thing for you guys or District 3 guys to have another District 3 championship in boys basketball. And Kostelac, I don't know how he does it year in and year out. Just wins. And West Catholic coach Buckatino, he does a hell of a job down here too for West Catholic.
I think the other team down on Trinity's side of the bracket that could make a little bit of noise is Bishop Guilfoyle. They're the 2 seed out of District 6. Entered the tournament 22-4. They won by 19 over Bishop Canavan. So
Good win.
yeah, that's a
Joe,
good win.
they're one of those teams that's had to keep moving up because of success, right? Because I remember they were 1A at one point.
Right.
Bishop
They're
Guilfoyle.
Girls are 1A.
The girls are 1A. Thank you, Dave. That's what I was just going to say. Yeah, the girls
the
are
boys,
1A.
The boys have had to move up.
Yeah,
I think two levels
and
because
Devon
of
Prep.
success.
In fairness to Trinity, because they're very good, and they don't need people to move up so they can win just to win games. But Devon Prep was moved up to 4A,
Yes.
and that's a sigh of relief for the 3A teams. Believe me, because they're very good, right, Dave?
Yeah.
Devon
I
Prep.
predict 6A. I can't predict. I don't want to upset my guys like Billy Cassidy. I love him. He plays them next, but right now, upper double is to win 5A. It would be the first. Listen to this. You guys won't believe that. I told you before. They will be the first District 1 boys basketball team. District 1, any class, to win a state title since Lower Merion beat Chester in 4A in 2013. Can you believe that?
Yeah, I can because District 12's kind
You
of
said
taken
public.
over.
Dave. You said
No.
he said public.
Any school, District 1. Boys.
So here's what I have. I just want to mention these are some good scores here. Shamokin beat Wyoming area 90-60. If you score 90 points in 32 minutes, you're ringing up that scoreboard. And the Neighborhood Academy 95, Shanksville Stony Creek 32.
Yeah, well, Neighborhood Academies like Amani Christian was last year. Amani Christian bumped up or whatever, moved up voluntarily.
They might have 45 kids in the school, and 13 of them are 6'4" and taller.
Well, if Chester Charter, if we had our second leading scorer, who's not eligible because of that transfer thing, we would have a great chance to go to the finals and play Neighborhood Academy. But I think right now, I'll still predict Chester Charter against Neighborhood Academy in the single A state title in boys.
Here's the Mid-Penn. You guys can just chime in if you want. At least for this round, Mid-Penn teams with the best chance to move on to the Elite Eight or round of 8. I think Cumberland Valley against Coatesville. I think they have a good chance to beat Coatesville. It's going to be 2 different styles, right, Dave? You just mentioned it. Coatesville's big. They're physical. Cumberland Valley could shoot.
Bring out the pads and the helmets, man.
Hershey versus, well, if they play nobody, they have a really good chance.
I'm betting on Hershey.
Okay. But even if they play Meadville, I like Hershey's chances. Then Trinity versus Shady Side. Anybody disagree?
No.
Okay. And then teams with let's just say the biggest challenges, Chambersburg versus Imhotep. That's a tough one.
Imhotep, they better pick it up a little bit. I know they beat Father Judge, but the other
Well, that's a good win.
took it. I just think they took Central Bucks East for granted.
Right.
I try to post all these videos on the forum so everybody can get a chance to review.
I don't want to be the team that has to play the team that took another team for granted, though. Like next, right, Coach? Saber cool. You don't want to be on the wrong end of that scenario. And then the last one, I think Susquehanna Township's going to.
Central Bucks East came into that losing like 3 games in a row, 4 out of 5, and then gave Imhotep a heck of a battle.
Bishop Shanahan, that's going to be a test for Susquehanna Township, right, Dave?
Should be a good game.
Okay. Yeah, I think we're all starting to. I don't think that any of us have doubted Susquehanna Town. I know I haven't, since I said it just a bunch of times. Ever since I saw them lose to Trinity by 2 at Trinity, like way earlier in the season, I'm like, this team has a chance to make a run, win some games. And but I think that the people that were doubters with Susquehanna Township are less and less doubting at this point. So here's the best matchups in my estimation. We're going to start with 6A. If you are inclined to get in the car and go for a ride or watch a game online or whatever, and you're not familiar enough with this, jot this stuff down or listen up to here. Central York and Roman Catholic. That's, to me, the best matchup in 6A. That's kind of a state championship matchup.
God, Roman looked so good the other day.
And that's, you said, the 6 o'clock game, right, Dave?
Yeah.
6 o'clock at Geigel Complex, which is Reading High School. We'll be there. I'll be there. Who's jumping in the car with me? Dave, you can't because you live in Delaware County.
He still got a favor. Got to go with Central York until somebody shows they can beat him. But Roman is 6'8". You have to watch it. I posted the video of their victory over Lower Marion the other day. Wait till you see that guard they have.
I can't wait. I can't wait. Okay, 5A, Upper Dublin. They're the 1 seed out of District 1. They play Bonner Prendergast, the 3 seed out of District 12. Dave, how's that matchup? Is that a good one?
Very tough because Bonner, they're missing their 2 6'6" guys in transfer rule. So they're missing those guys. They have another transfer from St. Mark's who is eligible. He's a junior. So he'll be the size. The guards are great.
So they're just like one big collection of transfers then, right?
Yeah, it's got 2 kids.
Some are eligible, some aren't.
2 kids from Chester. Corey Grant, the top sophomores, not only in Pennsylvania, but the country for Bonner. He could change the game around. It could be a close game.
Okay. So am I on track so far? Do I got some of the better games so far? I just looked into this stuff earlier. At 4A, it was tough to pick one. I'm talking about competitive games. Pardon me?
Who's Newman Goretti playing boys? You want me to check that out? Because they look pretty darn good, too.
Yeah, I don't know who they're playing. But 4A, I picked 3 different games. I got Berks Catholic against Scranton Prep.
Oh, wow.
That should be a good one. I got Allentown Central Catholic against Shamokin. Why Shamokin? They put 90 up on Wyoming area. So I know that's not a good reason to pick a game, but
Allentown Central Catholic will win that by 20.
Okay, so I'll be wrong about that one then. And then Susquehanna Township against Bishop Shanahan. 3A, Bishop Guilfoyle against South Allegheny. I like that game a lot.
Yeah.
South Allegheny is the 1 seed out of District 7, and they're good. I think they have like 4 losses on the season. Bishop Guilfoyle's, they're just good. They're always good. They're the 2 seed out of District 6. 2A, Linville Hill against our friend Rob Moore in Constitution.
Ooh, wow.
How about that game, man? For a second round game?
Oh, I'm losing my mind over that one.
Yeah, it's a good one, isn't it?
Linville Hill gives teams like that problems, man. The Mennonite.
Yeah. Yep.
The Mennonite from Paradise.
So are they? They're not Mennonites, are they? Linville Hill?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay. All right.
Charter played Mennonite team, Ephrata Mennonite the other night. They're not bad. They're like second, third year in the PIAA.
They don't look like Mennonites.
Who in Linville?
Yeah, they just kind of look like kids that would play around here, you know.
Well, they're
white kids, black kids. They got normal haircuts.
Yeah,
yeah. They don't look like Mennonites. Okay, and then 1A. I kind of had to dig a little bit deeper here for this one.
All right.
Otto Elred. Anybody ever hear of Otto Elred?
Yeah, man, that's up in God's country.
That's you got that right. District 9. Dave, you're great, man. You know your stuff. They're 26-1. Otto Elred is. Guess what their nickname is, guys?
The Odgers. The Walruses or something.
No, this is different than you guys have ever heard. I guarantee you. They're the Terrors. Terrors, like Terrors, the Terrors.
Right. The other Ephrata Mennonites nickname, you'll love it. One of my favorite words, the Legends.
Okay, yeah, that's along the same lines. And then a little bit back to reality, they play Sarah Catholic. They're good at everything. They're the 2 seed out of District 7, 22-4 on the season. So,
man,
good job, Dave, knowing where District 9 is.
Oh yeah, up Clearfield and
If you were looking at
Potter County.
a U.S. map, okay, if you were looking at a U.S. map,
Yes.
District 9 is where Montana, Wyoming, and North and South Dakota would be. You know what I mean? Up in that kind of that little area, that little quadrant.
Clearfield and Punxsutawney Phil. And
Correct. So that's about it, man. Anybody else?
keep an eye on Greater Johnstown. One
Greater
loss,
Johnstown.
old school.
Is that Johnstown?
Johns.
Like,
yes.
yeah, but so there's no Johnstown in Greater Johnstown,
No.
right?
well,
Steel High beat Greater Johnstown back in the day. They were just called Johnstown. That was in the state.
5. That's our
That
longest.
was the state championship game. I was with my friends Joe Dimitrovic and Tom Malatestenik.
Yeah.
And there was still about 5 minutes to go in the first quarter. And I went, this game's over. I mean, it was that early. You could just tell it was over.
I announced their game, District 6 championship game, Johnstown against Indian Valley. Remember those days?
Oh yeah.
So they play Arnold Palmer. They play Arnold
Greater
Palmer.
Latrobe.
Yeah, Latrobe.
So Coach Ty Sabercool, anything you're interested in here coming up?
No, bottom
You're
of the smaller classes. I don't know any of these teams anymore.
Neither do I. I'm
It's a
trying
bunch
my
of
best,
random
guys.
names.
Yeah, Otto Elrid. You ever hear of them?
No.
Yeah, me neither. I'm really trying hard. I spent about an hour and a half this afternoon looking at the 1A through 3A teams, just trying to come up with. And I don't want people to think that we don't care about them. Or I mean, there's just a lot when you're talking about 6 classes and 32 teams. What's that? That's 192. Is that right?
Me and my wife. Hey, Talia, you're Greenwood girls, baby.
Yeah, they won. They played Hamburg this week.
There
Yeah.
you go.
That's where CD girls are playing.
CD girls are playing Parkland at Hamburg.
Well, yeah. Hey, Joe,
Yeah,
I'm
on
going to give
Tuesday.
you a tag. I'm going to be on another show here. My boys from Philly,
I'll share it on the page.
Derek Do-Right. We're going to be talking some stuff.
Okay.
All right.
Guys, thank you. We're kind of winding down here. We're going to be able to kind of break down games a little better next week once there's not so many games left. You know, it's just tough, and I'm sure there's people that are saying, well, you're forgetting about them or you're leaving them out. You know, we have to talk about the teams that they're close to us, basically. But the rubber, again, has met the road, and I want to thank Coach Avery Cloud from Susquehanna Township once again. Wish him well against Bishop Shanahan. The voice of Delco, Dave Berman, thank you.
Real quick, how good is York Suburban? I'm announcing their game at Coatesville on Tuesday night. They play Upper Moreland, who went to Abington Heights and beat them in the first round. So tell me about York Suburban.
York Suburban is probably an average 5A team, playing above average right now. They're 20-8, you know, and 8 points or eight losses. That might be a lot, but maybe not. You know, it depends on the way your season ebbed and flowed. But they're playing really good ball right now. They beat Roxborough by 19, and they're coached well. We interviewed the coach's sister the other night, right? John, Jess Weaver.
Cool.
Okay. Yeah, her brother coaches the boys at so the answer is I can't tell you a whole lot about them, but I just think that they're ready to play and ready to win some more basketball.
We'll
So,
see. Upper Moreland's good. So
John, Ty, thank you. We got through it. It was a good show. We covered a lot, and anybody wants to jump in my car on Wednesday, we're heading to Geigel Complex to watch some basketball.
Danielle Marshall, Stu Jack. All right.
Home of Mike Miller. How about that name?
Mike Miller. I think he actually went to Holy Name though. So
Yeah, but he coached at Reading.
oh yeah, Coach Danielle Marshall, 1991.
And then they had a guard by the name of Hightower. Do you remember him?
Yeah.
He was good. And did Hightower end up going to LaSalle?
You got me on that one. I don't know.
Okay. All right. We could go on and on.
I do know who knocked out.
We're holding Ty and John hostage here.
I know who knocked out Reading that 1991 state quarterfinal.
Hold on. Let me guess here.
Same day that Chester beat Harrisburg and Danny
Steel
Boone.
High. Steel High.
No, that was Glenn Mills.
Oh boy. Yeah, they knocked everybody out. Yeah, they were good.
And then they knocked out Chester in the state semis, and they played Danny Fortson and Altoona and beat them in the state finals.
They broke Steel High's hearts too, at least once, maybe twice.
Yes.
Guys, thank you very much.
All right.
We'll We'll catch up soon. We appreciate it.
See you guys.
Take care.